From humble beginnings to taking on high-end retailers, David and Adam Light, co-founders of Icon by Design, have rejected the disposable and made the beautiful affordable, offering sustainably sourced, solid timber furniture at an affordable price. So are they game changers? Let's find out. I'm Edwina Bartholomew. Welcome to Game Changers. David and Adam, Icon by Design, tell us how it all started, because it's an interesting story, a little bit of adversity involved, Adam, that got you started on this path.
Yeah, well, I studied finance for 6 years, and then I worked in finance for 6 weeks, and I got fired. Didn't realise at the time, but it was probably the best thing to ever happen to me career-wise.
We hear that so often on Game Changers, that it was a sliding doors moment like that leads to something amazing like this.
Well, then what happened was I had quite a few final interviews at various finance jobs, and then I said to David, look, let's go start a business.
And my initial engagement with Adam was, I said, right, I can build your website for you. So if you want to start a business, you figure out what you want it to be, and I'll build the website out. And that's where he kicked off.
So we had a family friend who had a business selling kitchenware, and we put this website up, and look, let's just say it took us about 3 days to realise you can't really make money selling $4 wooden spoons online. And then from there we went into a dropship model, selling homewares. Whilst it wasn't really necessarily a failure, it wasn't a success.
In 2014, Adam and I had a chat about his existing business, how's it going, and came to the conclusion that it really isn't going to be the success we wanted it to be, and that's when we came up with this revised model, put this business plan together, and I said, let me join you in this.
So explain the concept of Icon by Design in a nutshell. It's a furniture store, beautiful quality, but not ridiculously expensive. So how do you do it and how does it work?
We looked at the market here, and what we saw was we were looking for beautiful pieces with style. You were looking at branded items, and in Australia the prices were very expensive. The strange anomaly, if you go to Europe and look at the same products, they weren't the same price point. That's because the way the supply chains work with wholesalers and then the brand owners and royalties and franchisors, and you have this stack of layers of middlemen that cause that price inflation. So we said, let's look at how the supply chain works. Let's directly ourselves control from sourcing wood responsibly, FSC certified, through to manufacturing, no middlemen involved, and came up with a supply chain model that was really optimized. And in doing that, we're able to, in most cases, halve the price or even less compared to what our competitors were really doing.
This two-price model. So how does that actually work? I walk into your store, I see a piece of furniture I love, I can either buy it at one rate or another. So what's the difference?
The short answer is that it's got to do with how quickly you receive the product. The typical supply chain that exists goes factory, wholesaler, retailer, end consumer. Now, because we are cutting out the wholesaler and we buy straight from the factory, we obviously have to import the products ourselves. So we've got a warehouse of products. So if a customer would like the item straight away, they can pay the buy now price and we'll have the order dispatched in a few days. Whereas if the customer allows us to pre-order it for them, there's a few costs that we save on. So firstly, we're not having the warehousing and storage cost, because once the container arrives, it gets sent out. Mm-hmm. But secondly, we've got to pay the factories up front. Now, the way that an importer would typically finance that is by going to a bank and getting trade finance. But if a customer pre-orders and pays in full up front, then we don't have the need to go and source finance. If a customer pre-orders, it's much cheaper for us, and that's how we can pass on a 20% discount.
What's the response you've had from your customers? What are they saying when they walk into your store about your furniture, about your products?
Look, I think that the style of furniture and the quality that it is, I guess, aspirational. It's a very on-trend style in Australia, and when people walk into our store and see that they can actually get the style that they wanted, but it's half, third, even a quarter of the price that they were seeing at these other stores, it's a bit of a relief.
It's a win.
Yeah. Well, it's good value.
It is good value. Let's talk about sustainability, because that's really a buzzword at the moment in terms of homewares, in terms of fashion. How do you make your products sustainable, and why is that so important to you, David, to have that as such an important part of your brand?
We live in a closed society. It's an ecosystem. If we harm the system, we're effectively harming ourselves. So that's very much, I guess, part of our philosophy, and sustainability is a core part of that. So our approach is, how can we have this entire process sustainable in terms of procuring of the wood? Solid wood is not polluting at all. It's a very clean process. A solid piece of furniture's life is typically 10 to 15 times longer than a manufactured wood. If you buy manufactured wood item and it gets damaged, you tip it. There's not much you can do with it. With a solid item, if you damage it, one, you can repair it, and two, you generally don't. It becomes part of the character of the product. It becomes the history of the item. It becomes a story you can tell. We draw inspiration from historical designs and see what works. And then we contemporize it and project it forward. And an objective of ours, if someone buys from us, they can walk in the store, purchase the item, 10 years later look at it and say, I still know why I bought it. Still enjoying it for what it is.
The advantage you guys have is that not just do you have bricks and mortar stores where people can touch the furniture and feel the quality, but actually they can purchase it online, and that's where you started, is that right?
Well, I think that in retail today, there's an absolute necessity to have both bricks and mortar and an online presence, because we find that so many of our customers either find us online and then walk into one of our stores to touch and feel, and then they'll either do a quote or place an order in the store, or they'll go back home and just do it online. And that's why we've got quite a user-friendly website with lots of detailed photos, detailed descriptions, lots of videos and content. I think that having an omni-channel presence is a necessity in today's retail.
What you've managed to create here is this global company where you're sourcing wood from America, you're manufacturing in China, you're selling here, and you're designing here as well, which is really important for you, isn't it, David?
Yeah, it's very important. You know, we're an Australian company. We're based here. We see ourselves as part of the Australian community. So part of our ethos is saying, what can we do economically here in this global supply chain? And our ethos is an Australian ethos. So we believe it's best to do the design here.
What an honour to be a finalist in the New South Wales Telstra Business Awards, particularly for a fairly young business, David.
Yeah, often businesses tell stories, they say things, and how real is it? So the idea behind entering the Telstra Award is to get a validation from people who are assessing these sort of things. We actually were also a recipient last year. This is our second year in a row.
We're very humble about that. It's a pretty big deal for you guys. That's awesome. Twice in a row.
Yes, and it's very exciting. Our team love it. It's a validation of the place they're working in. Yeah.
Not just building a business, David, but building a business with family. That's such a lovely thing for you guys to be doing between generations.
Yeah, so this is a father-son business. The truth is, Adam had a business that was working. I joined him to create the new business. And it's really quite a privilege for me to be involved in a father-son business. My daughter has just recently come into the business as well. She's been very involved in the design of our stores, and now she's coming on board in a managerial capacity. And so it's now the three of us with obviously our team, and absolutely loving it.
Well, you've made it very easy for us because we can take the vase, the table and the pillow home. So it's been a pleasure to meet you both.
Thank you, Edwina.